Do right self do.
Elwood. Let's talk about some science. I came up with some questions for me and for you out of my brain. What is our DNA made of? Good question that I handpicked for my brain, because not all of our DNA is something that we actually use for things like our cells and our eyes. In fact, the vast majority of it, about 97% actually, just doesn't get coded into the proteins that we think of that actually makes us us. See, how DNA works, to explain very briefly, is that there are these little sections which are coded by enzymes and then turned into proteins. But in order to be translated, the enzyme needs a little bit of help from something called reverse transcriptase. Don't worry too much about the name. The point is that reverse transcriptase also needs to be converted from DNA segments. And because it's part of that DNA replication, it's very good at replicating itself. Therefore, about 14% of your DNA is just code for reverse transcriptase. And that actually happens throughout your life. Now, it doesn't affect the next generation as far as eggs go, because those are set at birth. But sperm is produced abundantly throughout a lifetime, and that is carried on to the next generation. So that affects the human genome as a whole. Over millions of years, we as a species have accumulated all of this duplicating code that does absolutely nothing except have sex in your genes. You're welcome. Also, viruses work by inserting their genetic information into yours so that they can internally kill the cell. And when that happens, some of that DNA is left over, and partially this is good because then your cells can fend off future infections from viruses. But it also means that that genetic information is in yours. It also means that you're about 1.3% virus. Remember, the DNA that makes you only accounts for about 3% of your DNA. That's like if you took 1/2 of your height and added it to yourself, that 1/2 would be virus. Again, you're welcome. Most of the rest of your DNA is junk that doesn't even reproduce, which leads me to my next science question. What's something cool and or weird about evolution? Well, evolution happens because a gene mutates, but sometimes what happens is the gene gets switched off, as in it stops being coded into protein. For example, human beings actually do have the genetic information to create a tail. We just don't have it turned on in our DNA. So if you could turn on the genes in a growing fetus that are actually necessary to produce a tail, you could get a human being with a tail. Chickens, by the way, also have a lot of leftover DNA from being dinosaurs. Think about that the next time you see a chicken. Do unicorns exist? Come on.
There are so many animals in nature that have horns.
Why are we so caught up on horses having horns?
I mean, look at the narwhal again. They're like the jousting knights of the sea. That's freaking awesome.
Now, in my day, Pluto was a planet, and so it shall always remain. Brain, that wasn't even a question, but centuries ago, kids in school were actually learning about planets like Ceres and Juno that were in between Mars and Jupiter. And then astronomers found nearby planets, and then another and another and another until it's the asteroid belt. With Pluto, astronomers are seeing more objects in the vicinity that look more like Pluto than the other planets. And now they're thinking that's the Kuiper belt. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Don't be stuck in the past. If somebody from centuries ago were like, "In my day, Ceres was a planet, and so it shall always remain."
Old self, let's drain your bile.
The black bile makes me irritable and despondent. So there you have it. Stop trying to make Pluto something it's not. Thank you for watching. Please like if you liked it, and favorite it if you really liked it. Also, please subscribe over here below my finger, or wherever YouTube may put it in the future. I have 2 new videos every week, one special video and one vlog. See you later, and don't forget to create yourself.